Hello and welcome to this episode of Our Longevity Futures. I'm your host, Chris Curwen, and I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by Dr. Peter Schnohr. Peter is a medical doctor from Copenhagen in Denmark, and he is also the co-founder of the Copenhagen City Study. This is a large cardiovascular population study of 20,000 men and women that was launched in 1975. The original purpose of the study was to focus on the prevention of coronary heart disease and stroke. However, during the years, many other aspects have been added to the study. Just some of this vast list includes heart failure, alcohol, dementia, stress, aging, and exercise, which is what we'll be focusing on today. So thank you so much for joining me, Peter.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
I'll jump straight into the questions, and my first one is one that I sort of like to ask everyone who comes on the show, as I find it really interesting as we talk to a lot of experts and researchers in the area who have quite varying definitions of what aging is. So my first question is, what is your personal definition of aging?
It's, if you take the muscular strength, 20 years of age, 70 years of age, it reduces 50%. 50% is going down. That's also aging. And you have, what you say, condition in Denmark, the lung heart, what you say, respiratory function. That's the same. 20 years, 70 years, 50% down. That's my definition of aging. But we have done some studies because we thought very long back that if you look old, you'll get a myocardial infarction sooner than if you look normal, so to say. So we had introduced, we have an article called Longevity in Gray Hair, Baldness, Facial Wrinkles, Arcus Senilis, 13,000 men and women. And we found that and concluded that regarding mortality, no difference whatsoever. But regarding myocardial infarction, they got it much before those with gray hair and so on and so forth. So we are going to back to that study that was in 76. Now when we go into the new study, we will continue this longevity side, so to say. What's your face? Does the face tell you something? Yes or no? Yeah, that's aging.
Oh, that's great. And how did you get involved and interested in the sort of area of longevity?
Yeah, I must say, in a way, I started to participate in a Swedish long cross country called Vasa ski race, 86 kilometers. Oh, wow. And I did that for some time. But the first one I thought was so fun. It was so fun. So you should have a Vasa race in Denmark. But in Denmark, we don't have snow. And you can't ski without snow. So I started a foot race for normal people, not for people attached to clubs and so on, but just an ordinary Danes, and we call it a Hermitage race because it was north of Copenhagen, where there's a castle, the king's castle for hunting, and it turned around there, and we had 3,000. That was in 69. My first Vasa race was in 67, so it long 2 years, and we started this 69. We had 3,000 participants. There were no joggers in Denmark at that time, none forever. But unfortunately, there died a man, 46 years of age, a soldier. And I thought, well, is this too much for the body to do this competition? Should we stop it? But we didn't stop it, and now it has continued for 50 years with more than 1 million participants, and we have 1.3 million joggers in Denmark. And they were all coming up from this Hermitage race that really was the first in the world in that kind. and New York City started 1 year after in 1970. They had 127 participants in the first New York City Marathon. And now, they have 50,000. Yeah, that's still not what you asked. But then I thought that we had to do something about physical activity. And that was the main reason that we started the Copenhagen City Heart Study, to find out, is it so that you can jogging, you do the jogging and die, or you can do jogging and continue living. So in a way, it was because of the Vasa race, Hermitageløbet, we started the Copenhagen City in 76. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems very sort of paradoxical that something like running and jogging, which, has always been thought of as a healthy thing, can actually end up killing people. So it's fascinating to hear the sort of inspiration for it.
There's a lot of opposition. Doctors say it's bad to do this jogging. You shouldn't do it. People will die, or more or less die, and so on. And nobody really knew it, because we have no studies on joggers and their life lengths, so to say. But we have now in Copenhagen, but it took 30 years to come with the answer. And the answer was, the answer was when we studied that we had an article called Longevity in Male and Female Joggers. And we had 2,000 joggers and 10,000 non-joggers. And the difference was that the joggers lived 6.2 years longer for men and 5.6 years for women. So that was nice. But in 69, we were standing there at the race and thought, is this very dangerous, or what is it?
And so we've talked a little bit about the actual the study itself, but can you tell me a little bit about Copenhagen and its population, and sort of what it's like as a city? Is it the sort of quintessential Scandinavian city that we all imagine?
Cycling all over. You see, every Dane has two bicycles. One for really hot and one for just going to work. With 700,000 going to work in Copenhagen every day on bicycle.
So health and longevity is very much on people's minds there.
They live longer. We have also studied the cyclists and find 2, 3, 4 years longer when you adjust for everything, smoking, high blood pressure, so on, so forth. So it's a good way of doing a sport, the cycling.
And I was amazed that you actually got 20,000 people to sign up for something like that. I think that's an incredible feat in itself. A testament to the people of Copenhagen, I imagine.
Yeah.
So as we sort of mentioned, you were sort of a bit of an athlete back in the day. I know you did some running. Was that what inspired you to start the Copenhagen City Heart Study? And can you sort of tell us a little bit about...
I think it was the death of this 46-year-old man. He died, and I was responsible for this race. I was the founder of this race, and people die around me, I thought. So we have to study it. And we were first in the world with the answer, as a matter of fact. In a Congress in Dublin in 12, I could say these 6.2 and so on, more than non-joggers. But you have to be patient, because it took from 69 to 2002. Then we had this article in the American Journal Epidemiology, almost 30 years. So you studied it at the university in Oxford and so on, then you get the results, I think, a little faster than we did. Epidemiologists are they have to be patient because you have to wait and see the events.
So is that why you chose jogging in particular as opposed to other forms of exercise, like maybe sprinting or even people doing daily activities which count as exercise, such as,
Well, I did
gardening?
100-meter dash when I was in study, 100-meter. That was very short.
Mhm.
Then one of my friends, he said, you should do cross-country skiing. And that's quite different.
Mhm.
And I started with that. And cross-country skiing, if you don't have snow, then jogging is a good training for cross-country. So it was more or less, no, I couldn't say that it's because so-and-so, but you could say that we have walking, we have bicycling, we have rowing and so on, but we didn't have jogging in Denmark at that time in the 60s. We didn't have it. So here you are, you get something new.
You want to test it out and see what actually happens. Yeah. Yeah, no, I
Yes,
can.
and we liked it. I mean, it's very important. Everything has to be with a smile. You have to like it. You shouldn't do it just for health. I mean, it should also be fun when you're out jogging. And when I ask the joggers why are you jogging, because it's fun, not because I live longer, but it's fun.
No, I think that's a good reason to do it initially,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
I think the longevity sort of is almost like a side benefit. The research that you conducted reports a sort of U-shaped relationship between
Sure,
exercise and
sure,
health benefits. So
sure.
could you sort of elaborate on what the U-shaped relationship is and why this is a relationship rather than something else?
Yeah, serious exerciser is not better than sedentary. So, but the moderate 1 to 2.5 hour a week, moderate tempo, but not more than 3 times a week. How many times should you do? Should you be out there every day, or should you just take a little pause so the muscles and so on can come back to normal?
Is that a big part of it? That then it's the rest is what is really important when it comes to exercising and.
I think you're really right. Also for top athletes, then the resting, how to do the resting, when are you going to train next time? How do you know if you are too early, too long? I had a badminton player here, Victor Axelsson. He just got European champion, and he is very keen out every time to do something. It's stop a little, 1 day free, and that will help you.
So you talk about your friend there who loves to play badminton, and so many people are almost addicted to exercise because they love the way that it makes them feel. But most people view exercising as a chore. So in your research, you sort of sought to answer the most essential question for these people who don't enjoy exercising at all. That is, what is the minimal dose of exercise that will still give them benefit? So
Yeah.
do you sort of have an answer? What is the minimal dose that can still give you those exercise benefits?
When we say 1 to 2.5 hour a week jogging, then we mean 1 hour is very, very good a week. So you get benefit of very little. But maybe you should be out twice. I think you should be out twice, maybe 3 times, and not only 1 time. But we don't know. We don't know. But it's much more benefit to do something than to be at home and do the television.
Yeah, no, I can definitely imagine that. And when you say jogging, how strenuous is this? How do you define the difference between a
Well,
brisk jog and a strenuous run?
when we say running, that's more in a club. You go to competition, you go to a run, and joggers, they are more relaxed. That's it. I mean, I can't define it better. But joggers are, of course, they can run fast. Some of the joggers, but normally they're a little below the top speed.
And is this something you've practiced throughout your life?
Yes.
Have you been an avid runner your whole life?
Well, I did a marathon in 3 hours and 15 minutes, and that's
Wow.
that's
A
not
very
fast,
good time.
but it's in between.
Yeah, I think the longest distance I've run is about 10 kilometers, and that was a long time ago. So yeah, I need to put my running boots back on and get back out there really.
We think jogging or running is fine because when you travel, you only have your shoes, running shoes. That's it. You can do it all over because it's so easy to fit in and take a jogging in the morning from the hotel when the town is still empty and so on.
It's absolutely universal, isn't it? Almost anyone can just go out there and go off for a run.
If you play golf, you have to have all these sticks and so on, and walk and walk. The golf is all right when you are at that age, so to say, but we didn't get into golf.
So when do you see a sort of plateau in the benefits that jogging gives you? So you mentioned from 1 to 2 hours, and then do you see a plateau and then a decline?
No. Then we see that's the best. If you do less, it's not completely that good, and if you do much more, it's not good. So it's a good plateau down there. That's well around half an hour a day in average, a little less.
And is this amount, is that consistent with age? So in other words, does the jogger's age actually determine the benefit they derive from that amount of
Unfortunately,
exercise?
we couldn't get different age groups in, but I think that the older you are, the less you do have, but on the other hand, the more benefit you do from physical activity. If you start up as a 70-year-old or a 40-year-old, the percentage will be better for him. And we have studied where you have been very bad, or more or less in the total group of activity. And when you are 65 to 79, you will, if you go from very low to average, you'll have a hazard ratio of 0.46. You'll really gain something, even if you're old. And I think that's very, very important.
So even if you're older and you haven't run before, it's important to try and.
Now I'm a jogger, so to say. I ride about.
That's easy for you. Yeah.
If I took bicycling or walking or so on, I think the same would be there. It would be there. So if people say, "Well, I'm just too old to physical activity," you said, "No, not at all."
Can you extrapolate this finding to other forms of exercise as well? Because obviously this was quite centered around jogging, but you mentioned cycling, rowing. Would the same apply to those sort of activities?
I can only say we looked into 8 different sports to see if there was differences in life expectancy gainings. And number 1 was tennis. They gained 9.7 years if they did this tennis 10 years and so on. Badminton came after that, 6.2, cycling 4.7, swimming 3.7, jogging 3.7, and that's it. We don't have golf at that time. This was published in 2018 in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings. So we found out that we invest 1, 2, 3 hours a week on different sports, and you get really differences in longevity. A little peculiar.
Yeah, that's fascinating. My dad's an avid tennis player, so he'll be glad to hear that.
But then, when you look into tennis players, well, they are not that good as joggers, but it could be the social life they have is very important.
Yeah, I was just, that was going to be my next point. What about it though, about those sports actually makes a difference? Because in terms of actually playing them, I suppose tennis and badminton can be quite stop-start and can be quite like intense sprint and then stop for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Do you think that makes a difference, or is it like you say a social aspect as well?
I think because I don't think, or I can't understand why tennis gets 9.7 years, badminton 6.2, and badminton is much more strenuous, much more. It's really heavy. But then the tennis players, after the game, they take a beer or what they do and discuss a little. The badminton players go home.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So in your sort of I mean, for someone who doesn't know what kind of exercise to do, what would you personally recommend?
Start with walking.
Just walking.
That's number one. And at least in Denmark, you take the bicycle. You could also do rowing. It's more difficult to get to a boat in the morning and so on. Rowing, and of course you will get a lot of fitness centers. The good fitness centers can be very, very good. And you take a little of everything for the heart and for the muscles, and also for having fun.
Do you think some of the responsibility comes to sort of governing bodies to advise people in a certain way? And do you think government messages around exercise need to be changed? I don't know what the messaging is like in Denmark, but I wonder if you personally think actually governments could do more to encourage, like you said, playing different sports, like tennis, jogging.
The only thing they do, the government, that is to have good roads for bicycling, not up in the car, but besides the cars and so on. That's the only thing I think they can do, because we are 1.3 million joggers. We have more or less 4 million bicyclists all over Denmark. We have 6 million. So no, they shouldn't do too much. It's not a kindergarten. We're not a kindergarten. But of course, the traffic, that's important. And we have so many bicycles pathways in Denmark and Copenhagen that you can just go. But of course, some places there are problems and they die.
Yeah, the UK, I think, is getting better in terms of having cycling lanes and stuff, but I think it's probably far away from Denmark or the other Scandinavian.
We just had 2 young girls who died with bus coming over and so on.
Oh wow!
Clever people. It was bad.
Yeah, well, I suppose those are the perils of that sort of thing.
Joggers, when they die, so to say. After number 1 in 69, we had 5 deaths up to 86. After 86, no deaths, because there were 4 ambulances and they were immediately there with the heart to stop. But that's out in the forest. You don't die when you are jogging in Copenhagen.
So what was it in those instances that actually put the runners in danger? What caused their them to also almost die? What was the actual cause of it?
That was a cardiac infarction. Maybe rhythm. You can't really say, was it a rhythm because not so good heart, or was it just a clotting in the coronaries?
And that, like you said, is that because of maybe underlying issues with their heart that they hadn't been detected before, or can that happen in someone with a perfectly
Danish men, they don't go to doctors. They don't go to doctors. Women do, but women don't die.
Women are the smart ones.
Of these 6 persons, it's women. It's not women. It's men. It's men. of course, I think we could have stopped some of these deaths if they had had a bicycle test and other tests. I think so. But they were symptomless, no symptoms.
Yeah, there was a very famous case in the UK. I think it must be about 10 years ago now, of a footballer called Fabrice Muamba, who was in the middle of a football game.
Yeah.
And he started to sway, fell over, and basically had a heart attack. And thankfully, there was a cardiologist in the stand who ran on, saw the symptoms, diagnosed it, and actually saved his life, basically. But he had, he was a footballer in the peak of his condition, and it wasn't until then that they scanned his heart and found that there was an abnormality. And it just goes to show, even these athletes at the peak of their power, so to speak, can succumb to these
cardiomyopathy, as we call it, and that's very difficult to diagnose, at least in the beginning. Then come the breathlessness and so on when they're older. But that's all. That can also be the reason for this.
And so, if anyone's watching this and they are concerned that maybe they should go and get a scan, would you recommend that? And would you say is it easy to go and have your heart looked at?
Do you ask me if we should investigate all joggers? Now, we discuss that very much in the Danish Cardiovascular Society. We say no, because the benefit is so, or you could say, if you have 100,000 physical activities, less than one die a year out of 100,000. And then you have to investigate 100,000 people to save one. And they become so sad, the one, you're not allowed to do anything, you should be home, and that's not a life. So let him do it, and maybe something happen, but he is happy.
Yeah, fair enough. That's it's been absolutely fascinating to hear your sort of thoughts and recommendations on that. And other than sort of heart health and exercise, I mentioned a few of the other aspects of the Copenhagen City Heart Study, and you alluded to it before. But what other sort of notable research that you'd like to sort of pick out, or your favorite bits of research, has come out of the Copenhagen City Heart Study?
We have studied alcohol quite a lot and found that if you take moderate amounts, you'll live longer. Mm-hmm. Not, of course, a lot of bottles, but a moderate amount. And that is, we say 21, what do you call these? 21...
is it units?
Yeah, a year for 21 a week for men and 14 for women. That would be very good. We're going to study it again now with 100,000 people. We have we have bought a new child, so to say, called the General Copenhagen work, so to say. And that's have 140,000.
Oh, wow.
140,000 people. And now we go into alcohol. We are going to the dairy products, also 100,000, and found that what you have said the last 20, 30 years about what is good for diet, it's still good. It's still good. But we are going to dementia, stress, vital exhaustion. If you go all the risk factors through psychological and normal, vital exhaustion is the worst. It's much worse than a lot of cigarettes. So we found out that, I would say, I thought it should go into the guidelines, but it's not a control study. It's just a follow-up study. And you have to do control studies before it goes into guidelines. But smoking has never got into both the one and the other. It just is there. Then the lipids, we are good in lipids. In the non-fasting, as I said, triglyceride, it hasn't really went through that non-fasting is worse than cholesterol, but it is. But that's that. That don't listen.
And what is there any other piece of research, maybe outside of what you're doing personally, around aging that particularly interests you, or you think, you know,
No. So I'm for physical activity, but we are groups that are very interested in aging and have done a lot of aging, and we go in with a CT scanning, MR scanning, where you can see the brain also, and maybe you can see dementia with MR scanning. We're going to find out that. But in the next step, we're going to test for dementia. We have just, it's in the register. These are dementia it's in the registers. But we measure it in the next number 6 investigation.
Amazing. So you've still got a whole host of research still to come out.
Yes. yes. The Americans, we have learned a lot of Framingham Canal from Framingham. He's been here several times. And then older is Henry Blackburn. He's still also doing papers. He's 96. And Stamler, he's with lipids and with hypertension. He's 102. Still doing studies.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, well, where can people keep up to date with some of your work? Where's the best place to keep a track of what you're doing and what you're publishing?
Well, I've only made 300 papers, but they are in such a one, so I can send it to you.
Yeah, it's just for anyone who's watching this and wants to.
Yeah, you go into the Google. We are in the Google, but we are not.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it would be nice to go have all the papers and then you print it and get it out. But you can just see it's there, then you have to do the work yourself. We are a poor little group. We're 10 doctors, and all are working free for this Copenhagen City. But they are positions at different hospitals. So that's a good group, but we don't have that much money.
Well, I mean, the volume and the quality of your work just speaks volumes about yourself and everyone that you're working with. It's it's absolutely fascinating and incredible to see. I go into this. I was flabbergasted by the amount of work and science that you've put out. So I commend you for that and thank you for all that work. And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. So thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, guys, if you wanna check out anything more that Gowing Life are doing, then you can go over to our website, which is at www.gowinglife.com, where you can find we do lots of longevity articles, just keeping up to date with everything in the world of aging and longevity. So go and check it out yourself, Peter, and let us know what you think. But yeah, thank you so much for coming again. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, very much.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, guys, and tune in again next time. Thank you.
Yeah.